Well, because they're going to have estate taxes. And I talked with an attorney and they said they should have had a credit shelter trust and you didn't have that. Here's the waiver that they signed. So, how exactly does a credit shelter trust work? This can be one of the most confusing things out there, but the fact is, it really is simple once you can see the boxes and see how everything is put together. And that's what we're going to answer in today's video. Hi, I'm Jeffrey G. Mersace, the Plain English Attorney, and welcome. We're going to dive into how a credit shelter trust works within a joint revocable living trust for a married couple, often called the Married ABC Trust. Now, this is something that most of my married couple clients are using. We don't get into just doing a married A or an AB. Look, we want the full toolbox if we're going to use it. So, using some graphics, we're going to make this a lot easier for you to understand. And we're going to show you why we want all three as a just in case. All right, so let's go ahead and dig right into it. All right, when we have a revocable living trust that is being set up by a couple, it's a joint trust. Both of the married couple members, they're both the trustors setting up the trust. They're both the trustees. They're going to run the trust. And they're both the first level beneficiaries. So this is for their own benefit. Now, when it comes to things like taxes and control, you're not going to see any difference. But when it comes to avoiding probate, the assets that are titled inside the trust are going to avoid probate because technically you don't have to take it out of a deceased person's name. It doesn't have to go through that probate process. If you want to get some really good information, check out the free course we have online at freetrustcourse.com. But getting to how assets are titled in a trust, for a married couple, it's just in this joint trust. There's no necessarily a distinction. You can use a separate property agreement if you need to, but for most of my couple clients, it's going to be in this trust. So your bank accounts are titled in the name of the trust. Stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, they're generally titled in the name of the trust. Real estate, personal items, vehicles, if you want to deal with the DMV and getting them over there. Okay, great. All that is in the trust, and it's just one trust. Now, this is where we get to this A, B, and C part in the credit shelter trust. When one spouse passes on, now suddenly we're going to end up with these three buckets that just pop up. There's a survivor's revocable trust A, there's a decedent's irrevocable trust B, and this is the credit shelter trust part. And then there's the C, I call it the overflow. It's the irrevocable Q-tip trust. So you've got these three buckets that are there. So in some cases, I've seen attorneys or even my clients in specific cases, they want stuff specifically to get divided into it because that B trust is irrevocable. If you think it's important for educational videos like this to get out there, then please help us out by subscribing to the channel. Let's just stick to this being a estate tax savings vehicle, and we'll approach it from that angle, and we'll assume everything else is fine. What we're generally doing is we're having everything, according to the terms of the trust, goes over to the A trust, the survivor's revocable trust, and now the surviving spouse, they can move up to half of those assets over onto the other side. So we're going to use an example of a $2 million estate to start. We're going to bump that up to 3 in a second, but using some old tax numbers. If it were a $2 million estate and you ended up just leaving everything to the surviving spouse. Oh, I love my spouse. I'm just going to leave everything. We're not going to have any of these buckets. Why would we do that? Let's just give it all to the surviving spouse without any of this stuff. Well, then what ends up happening is the surviving spouse gets everything. And then when they pass on, they've only got their $1 million tax coupon and a $2 million estate. That used to be a $435,800 tax mistake. Oh gosh, when it could have simply been handled by using these buckets. So What we do is we now have this kind of dividing line between the A and then the B and the C on the other side. So, using a $3 million estate example so that we can kind of kick in that overflow trust, and we're assuming everything is estate taxable above $1 million. I'll get to what the actual number is today. So we have 3 million that goes into the A, and well, we want to put as much as possible onto the other side. So that's 1.5 million. All right, so 1.5 million goes over to the B. And we go, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. That spouse who passed on, they only have a $1 million tax coupon. So are we going to leave everything in there and subject that B trust to $500,000 worth of estate taxes right now? Oh, no, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to keep that full million in the B trust, and we're going to shift the extra 500,000 over to the C. So at the end of the day, we've got 1.5 million in the A, 1 million in the B, and 500,000 over in the C. Now, moving forward, anything inside that B trust, it can grow as much as it needs to. When the surviving spouse passes on, that B trust is not going to have any estate taxes. It's already been subject to estate taxes and the credits have been applied for that spouse. Okay, so what ends up happening now is anything collectively that's in the A trust, the survivor's revocable trust, that they can change anytime. It's fully within their control. All right. They're going to be able to apply their tax coupon of $1 million there, but now the C trust is also included. So wait a minute, they've got $2 million. Well, now it's the surviving spouse's tax job to gift, spend down, get rid of that quote extra $1 million, and anything they don't is basically subject to a 40% tax. All right. We don't want taxes at all, but we certainly don't want any estate taxes due when that first spouse passes on. So this is a way to maximize that. So what exactly are the exemptions today? Well, as of the filming, we just got a little bit of an increase. It's $15 million per person. Oh, I'm never going to get that far. That's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Well, okay, hold on a minute here. We don't know. You don't know what Congress is going to come up with. So this setup with an A and a B and a C, this works also with the trust we use for state level estate taxes. So while it may not be 40%, some of these states with lower thresholds, and I know Rhode Island and Massachusetts and I think New Jersey have lower thresholds than that 15 million at the federal level. Well, it's going to end up saving estate taxes on that end when the first spouse passes on as well. Just because Congress just upped those limits and made them permanent doesn't mean that they can't lower those exemptions at some point. Hey, the political winds of change leave all of us at the mercy of Congress and the other legislative bodies. Who knows if your state is going to put in place a lower threshold? Who knows if Congress is going to lower that threshold? The thing is, if you've got that married ABC trust with a couple, it's maximizing whatever the estate tax credits are that you've got. And it's set up in a way that's flexible for that surviving spouse so they can make a determination. Does it make sense to utilize this B and C trust or not? But it's one of those things, and this is exactly what I tell my clients. It's something that you want to have but not need rather than need it and not have it. And here's a story that came straight from the trust guru, Henry Apps, the author of The Living Trust, the book that I actually read in law school that set me on the path to being an estate planning attorney. He was telling us at a conference that they used to just offer and have different price increases if you had a married A versus a married AB. I think you'd pay like $50 more, or married ABC. Okay, that was $100 more than just the married A. And so you were paying a little bit extra for those tax provisions. Well, this couple, oh, we're never going to get over that threshold. Oh, that's never going to happen. Well, sure enough, that couple passed on, and the son called up Henry and said, I am suing you. I'm suing the attorney. I'm suing your company. I'm suing all of you. Well, why? Well, because they're going to have estate taxes. And I talked with an attorney and they said they should have had a credit shelter trust and you didn't have that. Well, he went and he looked through all the paperwork and it's like, okay, here's the waiver that they signed stating that they didn't want this credit shelter trust. They just wanted the married A and they understood the potential tax ramifications. We were talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in estate taxes. And when the son asked how much would it have cost to add this credit shelter trust, and Henry told him $50, he just started crying over the phone. He told us at that point that he just decided, look, it's not going to be any kind of price difference with the company that's printing and producing those documents for the attorneys, that they're not going to distinguish in cost between the married A, the AB, or the ABC. So for me, for my clients, why would I do anything other than an ABC? Because it does all the math and provides you that maximum protection just in case. All right, so that's how this works. Now, we're going to end up in a video coming up. We're going to talk about, should we be using a credit shelter trust or should we use this great thing called portability? We've got another video on portability and exactly what that is and what it does. But we're going to make a comparison in an upcoming video about whether you should be doing a revocable living trust with the ABC and then funding that B side, as opposed to simply, no, I'm just going to take my spouse's credits and when I die, I'll just apply the credits at that point. All right, so I hope you found that information useful and informative. If you did, if you enjoyed this in any way, shape, or form, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, put in a comment that you liked it. The thing is, there's a lot of different channels out there showing cat videos and other stuff that are entertaining, and so the algorithms push down important information like this. If you like, subscribe, and comment, share this video. It's going to help it get more traction, and this information is going to get out there to people who need it. So please, if you can do that, help us out. And as I always tell my clients, please stay safe, plan ahead, and enjoy life. And whatever you do, make it a great day.